I smoked every single day for 10 straight years. See, my first time getting high was spring break of 8th grade. I remember looking around, snooping around my house, and I found this pipe. And it was my dad's old bowl he used to smack out of. And I took it, we brought it to my friends that I knew that got high, and I was just like, screw it, let's try it for the first time. And from that point on, it became a consistent weekend basis thing where every day we'd get out of school at 4 o'clock, we would go cop a gram and we would smoke it with the boys every single night when we'd sneak out when our parents went to sleep. And it became this thing where we'd laugh and have fun and we'd geek out. But eventually it became this thing where dab carts were so accessible that I would smoke and hit the pen every single match but in between Fortnite. And then I would hit the pen every single time before I eat a meal so it tasted better. And then I'd hit the pen before every single block so school was just more bearable and passed by. And then I realized it became this addictive behavior that I never knew could be such a thing. Because I was high every second of the day for 6 to 7 years. And that eventually that pen turned into the GBs, and the GBs turned into the bong, and the bong turned into a blunt a day, and then 3 blunts a day, and it just piled up to the point where I was smoking an eighth a day at some point. I was smoking a half ounce a week at one point. And for being 19 years old, 20 years old, smoking a half ounce a week, that's a lot of fucking money. And it was not worth it to my brain. So I'm going to go into depth on what exactly was the moment, the pivotal moment that made me stop smoking weed. And I'm going to give you guys a step-by-step process on how exactly I stopped, with the exact schedule, the exact things that kept me from, not wanting to go back to it and not having that withdrawal, whatever you want to say it could be. But I'm going to give you guys the play-by-play on what exactly happened. So I smoked every day from 2016 until like March of 2024. So, or maybe a little bit later. So like 2015 to 2024. So like 9 years. And like I said, it was the carts, it was the bong, it was the jeebs, it was the blunts, everything. And to the point when I stopped smoking, I was smoking an eighth a day. So this is St. Patrick's Day, March 2024. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. And I don't drink at all at this point. I only got high. But before I did anything, I would need to get high. So we went out to the bar, and before I needed to go to the bar, I needed to smack a J, right? So I rolled up, smoked one to the face, left the roach because we don't smoke those. It tasted like ass. So I left it to the side, smoked that thing, and then we took like 3 shots of tequila, and I was warm, I was feeling good. We got to the bar. And the whole night, obviously, I'm not going to smoke at the bar because I get kicked out. So I continued to drink because that's the atmosphere. It was fun. So at this point of the night, I'm just keep drinking. I'm with some boys that I just randomly met there. I'm with my girlfriend and her friends, and people are buying me drinks. I'm social, but I would never want to buy a drink. But at this point, I took like 7 shots, like 2 cocktails. It was like, I was just hammered. And I remember taking the last shot of tequila, and I went outside and I'm like leaning, like I'm feeling good, like I'm drunk at this point, like I'm super fucked up. Excuse my French. I wanted to go find my girlfriend. I remember leaning on her because I couldn't really hold myself up properly to not get kicked out by the security guards. So I'm leaning on her and I look up and there's this light sign, like a neon light sign, LED, and every letter it was spelling out words. And all the letters were broken. It was spelling out the words to the bar. And all the letters were broken. It was 3 words. But in each word, every letter was broken, besides 3 words in each word. 3 letters in each word. And it was S-I-N, and it was sin. And that point on, I never wanted to smoke again because it put this like fear of God in me, because I was a believer in Christ, but I never actually followed his principles. I was so lukewarm. And I just remember seeing the word sin, and it put this instant fear to my heart that made me want to stop smoking because of my relationship with God. I needed to strengthen because I did not want death to my spirit. So what I'm getting at, and I'll go in depth into that later on in a different video, but what I'm getting at is for you to stop smoking, there needs to be such a strong enough emotionally rooted reason why for you to stop smoking, right? For some people, like I have a client that I work with, and for him to stop smoking, he was going to make an extra probably he's going to make $100,000 a year plus, if that's the minimum, bare minimum. And he's turning into an adult. College just ended. He's looking to get his government clearance. He's trying to get a real big boy fucking job. And he needed to not smoke to pass a drug test. So that was his strong enough emotionally rooted reason why, that he was getting a job to start making more money. See, mine was my relationship with Christ, right? Other people I've seen is that they're just sick of the emotional pain that makes them feel so damn lazy when they wake up in the morning and they're tied to this substance. They idolize this substance, and without it, they couldn't function. So they feel as if without this item and this idolization of weed, they couldn't function without it. But with it, they felt so lazy and held back. That's what made them stop smoking, right? There's multiple reasons why. But what it comes down to, and every person that I've met and I've worked with and I've talked with and done inside of myself, that comes the realization to stop something that is addictive like that, is you need to have a strong enough emotional reason-rooted why. But now, second is what actually got me to stop. Like, how was I able to stop? You know, I give glory to God. It was easier through prayer and actually having a relationship, but there's been multiple times where I've had to stop for 2 weeks and I go back harder. But when I would stop for 2 weeks and then when I stopped for good, I followed the same principles and it always worked for me. So the first thing is I would follow a weed smoking schedule. That sounds funny. You're like, brother, a schedule for telling you when to smoke? Like, bro, you must have been down bad. Twin brother, I was so down bad. But the schedule that I'd follow is you would only smoke after a certain time, right? So like, for example, I would only smoke after dinner or after work, right? So when after work and then dinner, it'd be about 7 o'clock. So I would only go smack a blunt after 7 o'clock. And I would do that for like 2 weeks or a week, right? And when I did that for a week or two, because beforehand I was just high every second of the day, it became easier to not crave the weed because I only was used to it after 7 o'clock. So once it came 7 o'clock, some days I wouldn't even be thinking about it, but I did it out of habit. So when you have a schedule and you hold yourself off of until 7 p.m., that craving goes away because the majority of the day you are without it. And after those 7 days or 10 days, 14 days, whatever you feel that is necessary, you need to keep it at 2 weeks at the longest. You smoke every other night after 7 o'clock. So this is why on week 2 or 3, you want to do every other night after 7 o'clock. The reason why is, again, you're weaning off of it. Any medication you've taken from a doctor, they don't tell you to just cold turkey, right? I remember my doctor, when I stopped taking antidepressants, I was force-fed them. That's a whole nother story. But I was force-fed them when I was 18. And they wouldn't let me leave a situation that I was in without taking them. So I was on them for a couple months. And ignorantly, I didn't know what they did to my body, but I wanted to get off of them because I started to figure out what it did to my body. So he had me lean off of it slowly, right? Take less milligrams of every week, right? Any other medication, Concerta, Adderall, I've taken in my life, slowly get off of it. It's the same protocol when you're not trying to smoke, all right? So do it after 7 o'clock, and then the following week or 2 weeks, do it after 7 o'clock every other day. And then the week after that, you're going to do after 7 o'clock every 2 days, every 2 nights. So on the no weed, third night smoke. No weed, third night smoke. By the time you do this, you're not going to want it anymore. Because every single time it's going to feel out of your norm, you're not going to crave it, and you're going to realize I can live my day without smoking weed. Third thing is, right, we already have emotional charge reason why to stop. We have the schedule to stop smoking. That third thing is you need to keep yourself busy. So I remember, for me, I didn't follow any of this when I stopped the first time, right? I just cold turkeyed, bro. I just went hard. Like, I still had like a quarter pound of bud. I still had all these edibles. I still had these weed tools. I had literally roaches that I could smoke, but I just didn't smoke any of them. And I just cold turkey stopped. And the temptation to not smoke weed when it was sitting in front of my face was hard as shit. It made me a stronger willpowered man. But what I did throughout the day, and then when it got to that nighttime, which I was used to stopping after 7 o'clock, or not only smoking after 7 o'clock, I had to keep myself busy. So the third thing is you need to keep yourself busy. All three of these are just important, as important of each other, but this is going to kind of vary. This is going to assist the other tips very, very hard. So how I would keep myself busy is, I'd maybe like read a book for a couple minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes before I wanted to go to bed to get myself more tired. I would play the video game with friends. I would watch like an anime or a TV show. I would do anything to stimulate my brain to distract myself from the craving that I was having in that desired moment. With these three things, I promise you can stop smoking. You can drop that addictive behavior of not wanting to smoke weed. If I was able to do it, you can too. I literally smoked an eighth a day, every day, 3 blunts before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, every single day. It controlled me. And it still controlled me up until the day I decided I was going to stop is when everything changed. And I followed these 3 steps besides the day after day quitting schedule. I kind of just had enough because I've tried that multiple times and I've already had that craving go away. But at this point in my life, I just needed to stop for my relationship with Christ. But when you follow those 3 things, I've tested it on myself. I've tested on the boys that I've been around when we used to all get high and link up just to get high, and that's all we knew with each other. When they wanted to stop and they asked me how I stopped, I get them on the same protocol. They stopped. So if you want to make that change, just follow these 3 steps, right? You need to have a reason why. You need to have a schedule and only smoke after 7 o'clock, right? And you need to stay busy. When you do these 3 things, those cravings go away, right? And if you don't feel like you can do it alone, if you don't know how to even find a reason why to spark that change, then reach out to me, right? My inbox is always open. I love helping people. I want to help people. I want to use the gifts that God has blessed me with to pour into other men and women. But, if you can't figure out a reason why, I've helped multiple of my clients figure out what that change that needs to happen and spark that emotional change inside of them that they need to understand, right? So if you don't know how to find that reason why, if you don't know how to actually follow a schedule to yourself because you don't actually think you have the willpower and you need the accountability to stop, if you feel like you just don't know what to stay busy with because every time you did stay busy, the weed was involved, right? If you don't know how to do these things, then I can build a step-by-step process for you. If you guys just reach out and click that first link in the bio to schedule a call so we can really figure out what is the problem, right? Why do you keep coming back to the weed? It's not, it's fun or I relax, right? That's a symptom. But the pain is caused by the root of the tree. If I had a bush in front of me and I cut off a leaf is still going to grow out in that bush. But if I cut the stem out of the ground, that's what actually makes the bush die. So you need to figure out, and we can figure out together, why do I always go back to the weed? Is there something that I emotionally run from because I have trauma as a young man, as coming up as a kid? Do I just not love what I see in the mirror, so I simply just go to the weed because it makes me come out of reality? What is that pain? And we can figure out together because I've done it with myself and I've done it with multiple different people. So I hope this video, I hope it just impacts you, because if you follow this 3-step routine, you're going to be clean off anything. It doesn't need to be just weed. It can be drinking. It can be sports betting. It could be you name it, bro. It can be masturbation, whatever it is. You can stop it as long as you follow these 3-step processes to get off of it, because the doctors do the same thing. They have you get a reason why to stop your medication. They wean you off of it slowly, and you're going to stay busy to not think about those cravings. So I hope this helped you guys, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys if you really need that extra attention or extra help in your life.